In the dim glow of the dining room, Emily sat alone, her hands wrapped around a steaming cup of coffee. The silence of the house was deafening, broken only by the occasional ticking of the wall clock. Tonight was the night she would unveil the truth, a truth so bitter it mirrored the dark brew in her cup. Emily wasn't just a wife anymore. She was a woman betrayed, determined to take back her life. To the world, Emily and Daniel were the picture of a perfect couple. At gatherings, they stood side by side, laughing at jokes, exchanging subtle touches, and whispering secrets only they could share. But perfection, Emily would learn, is often just a carefully crafted illusion. The first crack in the illusion appeared one evening when Emily found a hotel keycard tucked into the pocket of Daniel's suit. He laughed it off, his voice smooth and unshaken. "Oh, that? From an old work trip. You know how hotels are, always giving out extras." She smiled and nodded, but something inside her shifted. Then there were the late-night phone calls. Daniel would step out of the room, his voice low and measured. "Just a client," he'd say. "Nothing to worry about." And there was the faint perfume on his jacket, floral and sweet, but not hers. These were small things, she told herself, tiny details that shouldn't mean anything. But together, they painted a picture she didn't want to see. The real break came one evening when Emily was cleaning out Daniel's coat pockets. She found a receipt for a necklace, delicate, expensive, and purchased on a day Daniel had claimed to be out of town. She wanted to believe it was a surprise for her, but something deep inside her knew better. Her suspicions were confirmed at a charity gala. The gala, a turning point. The charity gala was meant to be an escape, a night of elegance and celebration. The grand hall sparkled with chandeliers, and soft music played as guests mingled, their laughter echoing off marble walls. Emily arrived on Daniel's arm, her gown shimmering like liquid silver, but beneath her polished exterior, her heart was heavy with doubt. Daniel was in his element, charming everyone he met with his easy smile and quick wit. Emily watched him closely, her eyes catching every subtle gesture, every fleeting glance. And then she saw her, Sophia, young, beautiful, and exuding a quiet confidence. At her neck was a delicate necklace that Emily instantly recognized. The receipt flashed in her mind, a cruel confirmation of her suspicions. As the evening wore on, the signs became harder to ignore. The lingering glances, the quiet exchanges, the way Sophia's laugh rang just a little too loud when Daniel spoke. Emily's stomach churned as she watched from the sidelines, her champagne untouched. And then, the final blow. Emily caught Sophia stepping into the hallway, phone pressed to her ear. From her hiding place in the shadows, Emily heard the words that sealed her suspicions. "He promised me it's just a matter of time," Sophia said, her voice soft but clear. "Yes, I'll see you tomorrow night." It wasn't just an affair. It was a promise, a future planned without her. Emily's heart broke, but she didn't cry. Not here, not now. Instead, she turned back to the gala, her face a mask of calm as she prepared to confront the truth head-on. On the drive home, Daniel was his usual charming self, chatting about the evening's highlights. Emily listened, nodding at the right moments, but saying little. Her mind was already racing ahead, planning her next steps. "Are you okay?" Daniel asked, glancing at her. "You've been quiet tonight." Emily forced a smile. "Just tired," she replied, her voice steady. But inside, she was anything but. The cracks in her world were now wide open, and Daniel had no idea he was standing on the edge of a collapse. The plan. That night, as Daniel slept soundly beside her, Emily stared at the ceiling, her mind racing. Confronting him wasn't enough. She needed proof. irrefutable evidence of his betrayal and the secrets he thought he had buried. The next morning, Emily began her quiet investigation. Bank statements revealed transfers to an account she didn't recognize. His emails were even more damning, messages filled with promises and plans for a future that didn't include her. And then, the final piece of the puzzle. Company records showed Daniel had been embezzling funds, siphoning money to support his double life. It wasn't just a betrayal of their marriage. It was a crime. The dinner confrontation. Emily chose a quiet evening at home for her confrontation. The table was set with Daniel's favorite meal, the wine poured, the candles lit. He walked in, smiling as he kissed her cheek. "This is a surprise," he said, settling into his chair. "What's the occasion?" "I just wanted to do something special for you," Emily replied, her voice calm and steady. But as the meal progressed, the tension in the room grew heavy, like a storm waiting to break. When Daniel reached for his wine, Emily slid a folder across the table. "What's this?" he asked, his tone light, almost amused. But as he opened it, his face paled. Inside was everything: emails, bank transfers, photographs, a detailed account of his lies. "Care to explain?" Emily asked, her gaze unwavering. Daniel stammered, his words tumbling over each other. "Emily, this isn't what it looks like." But she cut him off, her voice cold as steel. "Oh, it's exactly what it looks like. And don't worry, Daniel. The authorities will handle the rest." The arrest. The sound of sirens broke the fragile silence, their wailing echoing through the quiet night. Daniel froze mid-sentence, his fork hovering in the air as the realization began to dawn. A heavy knock at the door followed, a sound so deliberate, so final, that it made Emily's pulse quicken. She rose from her seat, her steps steady as she walked to answer it. When Emily opened the door, 2 police officers stood on the threshold, their uniforms crisp under the harsh glow of the porch light. Behind them, the red and blue flashes of the patrol car cast long, flickering shadows on the walls. "Daniel Morrison," the taller of the 2 officers said, his voice firm yet professional. Daniel, now standing in the doorway of the dining room, blinked as if the name belonged to someone else. His voice faltered when he replied, "Yes, that's me. What's this about?" The officer's words were measured and direct. "We have a warrant for your arrest. You are being charged with embezzlement and fraudulent activity related to your company accounts." The words hung in the air like an accusation too heavy to grasp. Daniel's expression shifted from confusion to panic, his voice rising. "No, there must be some mistake. I didn't do anything." The second officer stepped forward, his tone calm but unwavering. "Sir, we have evidence supporting the charges. Please cooperate and turn around." Daniel stumbled backward, his hands raised as though to ward off the reality unfolding before him. "Emily!" he cried, turning to her, his eyes wide with desperation. "Tell them. This isn't true. You know me." But Emily stood motionless in the doorway, her face a mask of calm resolve. For a moment, it seemed as though she might speak, but she didn't. She simply watched as the officers stepped forward. "Place your hands behind your back," one officer instructed, and Daniel obeyed reluctantly, his voice cracking as he pleaded. "This is a misunderstanding. You don't understand. This is all a mistake." But the officers were unmoved, their practiced hands securing the cold metal cuffs around his wrists. The door to the patrol car slammed shut with a sound that echoed in the stillness, final and unyielding. Emily stood by the doorway, watching as the car's taillights disappeared into the distance. For a moment, the house was eerily silent again, save for the soft ticking of the wall clock. Emily returned to the dining room, her steps unhurried, her mind swimming with the echoes of Daniel's pleas and the officer's measured words. The table was untouched, the wine glasses still half full, but she barely noticed. She sat down, her chair creaking softly beneath her, and reached for her cup of coffee. The steam rose in delicate swirls, carrying with it a faint, familiar warmth. For a moment, she stared into the dark liquid, her reflection wavering on its surface. It was as though she were looking at a stranger, someone she didn't yet know, but someone she was ready to meet. She thought about the years she had spent with Daniel, the laughter they had shared, the dreams they had built. It wasn't all a lie, she told herself, but the good moments didn't make the betrayal any less sharp. Love, she realized, wasn't enough without trust, and trust, once shattered, could never be whole again. Emily brought the cup to her lips and took a slow sip. The bitterness spread across her tongue, grounding her, steadying her. It wasn't the ending she had imagined for herself, but it was an ending she had chosen, a clean break from a life built on lies. And with every ending, she thought, came the chance for a new beginning. As the first light of dawn crept through the curtains, Emily leaned back in her chair and let out a long, steady breath. She was tired, yes, but not defeated. There was strength in her now, a quiet, unyielding resolve. She had faced the truth, no matter how bitter, and she had survived. Outside, the world was waking up. Birds sang in the distance, and the soft hum of early morning traffic floated through the air. Emily glanced at the clock on the wall. It was time to move forward. She poured herself another cup of coffee and watched as the steam rose once more. This time, it didn't feel like an ending. It felt like a beginning,